Hello YouTube, Uncle Lucky here, and welcome back to another episode of CBQ Hobbies. If you couldn't tell by the opening, I'm actually doing a request video, my very first. So, I thought I'd try and take a little bit of extra time and care, considering I can actually accommodate this request. And I'm going to do a nice episode devoted to Star Trek. So now, minus showing off a whole bunch of movies and stuff, I mean, I've got the movies, I've got the TV shows. I'm a really big Star Trek fan. As a matter of fact, before you start throwing stones and pulling out shotguns and chainsaws on me, I'm a bigger Star Trek fan than I am actually a Star Wars fan. I just always loved the Star Trek universe. But it was always a little bit weird because it always seemed like Star Wars had a lot more merch. Star Trek had a lot, but Star Wars always just had more merchandise out there that you could just readily get your hands on. So I've been collecting off and on at different times, but never really hardcore. Now the only reason I would show off this box over any other movie or anything else in my collection is just simply because this one was the movie 10 for the second reboot Star Trek movie, but it came with this really cool USS Vengeance that you had on the stand and everything. It was just really stellar, and I really think it's cool, and I'm going to use really a lot in this video, I imagine. But yeah, I bought it specifically for that, the tin box, and you know, just a toy. It was really cool looking. Now, my favorite Star Trek movie was The Wrath of Khan. Absolutely love it. Hands down the best movie in the series, my personal opinion. And it's probably because of this movie that I ended up really loving the Miranda-class vessel ship. Anytime I can find one of these sitting around somewhere, whether it's a model or this, for example, a die cast. This was the USS Reliant from Wrath of Khan, and just probably one of the more enjoyable parts of my collection. Probably not worth anything, but I just absolutely love this. I have it sitting out, you know, where all the rest of the DVDs and stuff are. Just amazing. Now we're going to get into some of the collector's cups. My favorite character in the Star Trek universe would be Old Bones himself, McCoy. I picked this one up a while back. Never have used it. Another one of those, you've got your things that you use and there's things that you don't, that, you know, I could just see accidentally smashing this one, then I would cry like a little girl. McCoy's my boy. Now to follow that one up, we've got a set of shot glasses. Got the original cast. Probably hard to see. Just little things like this I'll pick up every now and then. Like I said, not a go-getter collector. I don't buy a whole bunch of stuff online or go hunt for it specifically because it's just a little bit harder to find sometimes. If you can't tell, there's a theme here. I really love the original series. The Next Generation was really good. It was very enjoyable. Unfortunately, the original series being very short-lived and having kind of some terrible movies. I can be honest with myself as much as I am honest with you. The very first Star Trek movie was crap. It was very uninspired. It was boring, almost to a fault. The only thing I can really say about that movie being the one that brought Star Trek back was the first time that you actually get to see the Klingons in their new look, and the look that they would eventually stick with for many years came from that movie. Okay, so now I'm having a hard time remembering where these cups came from. It was either Taco Bell or something like McDonald's. They were selling these, you could buy a meal, I think. I want to say it was Taco Bell. You could buy a meal, and they were, you know, you could collect the cup of the week or whatever it was, but I found as I got older in my life that, you know, there was no reason to put on 600 pounds of fat just to collect some cups. I just walked into the place and slapped a $20 bill down on the counter and bought all 4 at the time. And I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to let you see what the cups look like. Pretty nice the way they did these cups. They actually look really good. There was a lot of detail put into these cups, because on the other side you've got, for example, this was the Kirk cup. It has the Enterprise on one side, and then you can see through there the ship on the other side. A lot of detail to these cups. Very beautiful. Very nice cups. Now, this one was... I had been waiting for this for a very long time. When they announced it, I was ecstatic. I was doing backflips. It was just... I was ready for it so much. They had announced the StarTrek video game, or the MMORPG for all of you in the know. And this came out. My wife and I had pre-ordered these, and we were waiting for them. Really good cover art for the game itself. And the game launched, and it was abysmal. I'm a Star Trek fan. I could never bring myself to say that this game was amazing in any stretch of your imaginations. This game was crap when it launched. The only thing about this game that was any good was the space combat was on par. It was pretty intense, but the rest of it was just... it was just so catered fanfare. It had very little thought process put in behind it. They just kind of slapped everything together in a basic mold and did what they thought we would all like, and it just didn't work out for them. I think the game is still going strong to this day, but it's gone through a lot of changes over the last couple of years. And I think this came out in somewhere around 2011, something like that, so yeah. Now it's time for toys. Picked this one up at a garage sale from the Next Generation. This box has truly seen better days. It's pretty bad off. It's been demolished. What I did like, though, was seeing that somebody had left a sticker on it. It says Toys R Us, $4.49. Have we come so far? It's been a great many years since any toy that I remember seeing at a Walmart or a Toys R Us or anything was $4.49. But yeah, this was one of the... I had gotten this just a few years, I think, after Star Trek toys went out. When they went out hard. It was pretty much a... you could find them online, but once they quit showing the, whatever, 6 TV series that they had at one time on television. I mean, you couldn't turn a channel at one time without running into something Star Trek, whether it was the original series or the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, just on, and it just completely saturated the TV. Good, but also bad in a way, because, you know, things like this, once these shows went the way for a while, everything just disappeared off the shelves. You couldn't really find anything anymore. Here we have the man, Khan, from the Wrath of Khan. Not going to do the Star Trek joke, guys. It's a really cool looking toy. They put a lot of detail into this one. It's really nice. This was a series that came out back in 1995. It was just kind of a hodgepodge. They started throwing together all these different characters from some of the movies and TV series and things. And they came with an ungodly amount of stuff that came in their packages, but you can see there that they came out with quite a few different toys from that series, and it looks good. It's they did a really good job on his face sculpt, though. If you let that focus a little bit there, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well, but they did an amazing job on his face sculpt. For a toy of that time, yeah, this was when they actually took care of things. So now, as you can imagine, being a Star Trek fan, they came out with the Star Trek movie, the reboot, the reimagining. I really liked what they did with it. J.J. Abrams, who directed it, these guys came up with a brilliant idea about changing the actual history and messing with time and all of that to mold it and recreate it into something for now. And it was a brilliant idea. I absolutely love the first reboot movie. I think they did an amazing job with it. The toy line that they shipped out for this movie, not so much. These toys were ugly. They were really ugly. It's probably the only reason I only have one of these in my collection, because I am a huge fan of McCoy. This was, thankfully, the only toy that remotely kind of, sort of, a little bit, just a tad looked anything like one of the actors from the movie. This was the only one that kind of looked like Carl Urban, and it was good for me because I'm a McCoy fan, but you know, Cadet McCoy here was the only one that was even remotely close. Because if you look at the back of the box here, these things are ugly. I mean, just weird looking. They almost look alien. Straight up funky. They just don't look like people. And they did a really bad job on the sculpting for these toys. I was so disappointed when they launched these toy lines and put them out in the stores, and I saw them for the first time and just kind of... And here's my last toy for the day. This was an interesting one because I really liked it when I found it. This toy line, I don't know how big this toy line was. I've kind of researched it and I haven't found, I can't even find this one really online anywhere. Doesn't mean it's not out there online. It just means I was either very lazy that day or had a migraine. I don't know, but I couldn't really find it to see what it was all about, how much it was worth and all that. This was from the episode The Arena, and he fights the Gorn captain here, and probably one of my favorite episodes. It was so simplistic and so cheesy. Any of you who never watched Star Trek out there or haven't seen that much of it, if you can find it anywhere without having to shell out money and you can watch an episode, watch The Arena from the original, I think it was the first season. It was so bad it was good. It really is. To this day I still watch it and laugh, but it still holds a place in my heart. Now the neat thing about this was, or not, depends on how you look at this, this little gold foil sticker here says this is the collector's edition number blank of 1701. Any of you who know Star Trek know what 1701 is significant to, but the number itself was handwritten on the package. I can't read it. Somebody was in a real rush, and it just looks like gobbledygook. So I have no idea what number this is, but the package itself, when I got it, I didn't realize how it was kind of starting to fall apart, and it's seen better days. But yeah, I like the mold. They did really good on it. And now this is the prize in my collection. I don't think it's worth anything, but to me it's worth a ton, because this was gifted to me from my parents. I've seen this book my entire life. It's always been around me in some way, shape, or form. I left my parents' home years and years and years ago, and every time I would come and visit, I would still see this book on the shelf. Absolutely love it, and they finally, after some prompting, gave it to me for Christmas a couple years back. But it's the Star Trek Starfleet Manual. And this book was published in 1975. And I'm not sure if this went along after the series for all the hardcore geeks, or if this was for the launch of the movie. I'm not exactly sure where this book came into play, but it has got everything. It tells you every level and deck to the ship. It tells you how their uniforms are supposed to be worn and the insignias that they're supposed to wear. It shows you patterns that you can actually create and cut out if you know these patterns and how to make them. You can make them in a large enough size. You can make the actual uniforms from the series. It tells you the different types of battle equipment and different types of ships in the series. They got every ship that came out at that time. It's just a really good in-depth book. It is really, really neat, and I absolutely, to me, this is the biggest piece of my collection. This is my youth. I've seen this book, like I said, my entire life, and I will always cherish this one. So that's a look at my collection. What I've got, it's not a lot, you know. You find one day that you just don't have enough room for everything that you ever wanted in your life, so you kind of have to pick and choose where you go from there. But these mean a lot to me. You know, they sit up on a shelf where I can show them off to anybody that walks into my house. So, you know, this was a request from a viewer, and I appreciate the request. I'm glad I was able to show off some of the stuff I've got. So, have a good one. I'll see you on the next episode.